Hello, Neil from Franklin Vets here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about pre-mating heats and heat detection. Firstly, let's take a step back and look at the annual pregnancy cycle of a dairy cow. There is 365 days a year. On average, a cow is pregnant for 282 of those days, leaving us with just 83 days a year that she isn't carrying a calf. Of those days, 42 are required for the uterus to recover and reset from the previous calf. This leaves us with just 41 days to get a cow back in calf so that she can calve at the same point next year. Not long, is it? Now for a quick overview of the estrus cycle. A cow's cycle takes between 18 and 24 days to complete, with the average being 21 days. If you recall from the previous slide, we had 41 days to get her pregnant again, which allows for 2 average length cycles or 2 mating chances. On average, the period of estrus or standing heat lasts for 15 hours but can range from 2 to 30 hours, with ovulation occurring 6 to 8 hours after standing heat. This means there is only a small window of time to detect a cow that's on heat and put her up for AI, so it's important to have good heat detection on farm. Ideally, you want to have your cows cycling before your planned start of mating. This is because the first heat is often silent, meaning she doesn't show the usual signs of bulling. She also has a reduced conception rate during this first heat compared to subsequent heats, so it's a good idea to get this out of the way before trying to get her in calf. First time calvers need extra time for their uteruses to recover, and therefore it's a good idea to allow for this and make heifers 10 days earlier than your herd. Now let's apply some figures to show how important it is to get a cow in calf as early as possible. If the average cycle takes 21 days and a cow produces on average 1.5 kgs of milk solids a day with a $6 per kg payout, that means every missed heat is a potential $189 missed. Now multiply the number by the number of heats missed over a mating period and you see how quickly it can add up. It's advised that pre-mating heat detection is performed before your planned start of mating. This helps you monitor the herd and keep track of who is cycling again, and also allows practice of heat detection before mating begins. 35 days out from planned start of mating, you should tail paint the whole herd one colour. As individual cows come on heat, replace their tail paint with a different colour so that it's easy to identify who in the herd has cycled and who hasn't. We use 35 days because this allows 25 days for every cow in the herd to show a heat if she's cycling. 10 days out from planned start of mating, those cows that still have the original tail paint on should be considered non-cyclers and be treated as such. If treated at this point, they will be able to be mated right at the start of mating, rather than waiting until you are a couple of weeks into mating and realizing that she still hasn't cycled. Heat detection aids are a great way to improve on-farm heat detection when used appropriately. Examples include tail paint, which is an inexpensive and effective way to detect heat. Check daily for signs of rubbed tail paint, which is evident of standing heat. Touch up paint at least weekly. Pressure-activated heat mount detectors, such as KMARs, release a dye when under pressure following standing heat, which is visible as a bright color. Scratch-off heat mount detectors, such as scratchies, scratch off which reveals bright color following standing heat. And vasectomized bulls, which used alongside other heat detection aids, can help identify cows on heat. This is because bulls will typically ride cows harder than other cows, making rub marks more obvious. Now we just have some diagrams showing how to apply the various heat detection aids. For tail paint, start at the back of the tail, and paint from back to forwards. No more than 20 centimeters long, which is the width of a piece of A4 paper, and no more than 5 to 6 centimeters wide, or the length of your thumb. Thick enough to cover skin and hair, but hair strands should still be visible. Touch up the paint at least weekly. Heat patch detectors. Cows must be dry and free of tail paint and pour-ons. Warm up the heat patch aid. Body temperature is ideal. Trim long hair to 1 to 2 centimeters in length if needed. Remove loose dirt and hair from cows beforehand. Use the tack cloth provided with the scratchies to pick up any dust left behind. Evenly apply the patch across the backbone in between the hips and tail head. Patch should be placed on the smooth part of the spine, not in the small depression. It's important to place these perpendicular to the spine. For heat mount detectors, apply a thin layer of glue to the patch and set aside to become tacky. Some detectors come pre-glued and do not require this step. Trim long hair to 1 to 2 centimeters if needed so detector does not shift. Remove loose dirt and hair from cows' tail heads. Ideal placement is for the edge of the patch to be parallel to the hip bones, mounted centrally on the backbone. Apply glue to the selected area, ensuring hair penetration. Detector should be placed on smooth part of the spine and not in the small depression. Allow time for the glue on the cow to become tacky. Apply patch, arrows pointed forward to the prepared area. Apply firm pressure to the side panels of the patch for good bondage. Paddock inspections should be used alongside detection aids to increase your detection accuracy. These are performed by walking through the herd while they are out grazing for at least 20 minutes at a time and performed 2 to 3 times a day ideally. Cows behave more naturally when in the paddock compared to when walking along the races or waiting in the yard. Therefore, it makes it easier to detect some of the more subtle signs of estrus. Here are some pictures of signs suggestive that a cow is either on heat or about to come on heat. The greyed boxes represent strong signs of heat, whereas the white boxes have more variable time frames and can occur before, during, or after estrus. So what are the advantages of good heat detection? Well, it works on getting cows in calf as quick as possible, which leads to more days in milk, more cows in calf to AI, which means more replacement calves, decreased empty cows, and increased profit. Premating heat detection also allows for the identification of cows suitable for reproductive programs. Now, I won't go into too much detail about reproductive programs in this talk, as there will be another one in a couple of weeks' time detailing them better. However, just quickly, why weights are useful for cows that are already cycling but will cycle again in week 2 or 3 of mating. They are given an injection to reset their cycle so that they will instead come onto heat in weeks 1 or 2 respectively, potentially getting them in calf earlier than they would have been able to otherwise. They require good heat detection to know who is going to cycle when. Seeders are used on cows that have been identified as non-cyclers. It consists of a 9-day program that works to kickstart the cow into cycling again. Seeders have a much better financial return when used before planned start of mating rather than later on in the mating season. This is due to the extra days in milk gained for the same cost of the seeder program. That's all from me today. I hope you have gotten something useful out of this. If you have any questions or comments, please either leave them below or get in touch with your local Franklin Vets clinic. Thank you.